The Galactic Confederacy observation post exploded in blinding light as Commander Eric's slammed his crystalline fist on the emergency containment button. Alarms blared throughout the hidden Jupiter station. What in seven hells was that? He demanded, his translucent skin pulsing with agitated red light. His science officer's voice trembled. Some kind of fusion detonation from the human testing range in Nevada. It's their 57th nuclear test this decade. Savages, Eric's muttered, mandibles clicking in disgust. Recorded in the report, humans continue developing weapons to kill each other more efficiently while failing to solve basic planetary issues. The Council was right to classify them as non-viable for contact. The Galactic Confederacy, 17 elder species who had mastered interstellar travel millennia ago, had observed Earth for centuries, cataloging humanity as primitive but tenacious, a species too focused on internal squabbles to ever pose a threat or contribute meaningfully to galactic society. Incoming data stream from the American monitoring station, announced the communications specialist, her luminescent appendages fluttering anxiously. They've deployed another deep space probe. Eric's scoffed. Add it to the failure database. Their Mars-bound technology has a 43.6% malfunction rate. His second-in-command, Sub-Commander Vrex, approached with a data crystal. This makes the 7th launch toward the asteroid belt this fiscal cycle. Unusual pattern for their current technology level. They're desperate to find resources beyond their planet. Eric's replied dismissively. Their climate crisis accelerates while their governments deadlock on solutions. Typical pre-interstellar behavior. The view screen shifted to show a rocket launch from Kazakhstan. A joint Russian-Chinese mission according to intercepted communications. The Confederacy maintained thousands of microscopic surveillance drones throughout Earth's atmosphere, providing perfect intelligence on human activities. Have the behavioral analysts submit an updated timeline. Eric's ordered. At current development rates, how long until they achieve viable interstellar capability? Vrex consulted her neural interface. Latest projections suggest minimum 143 standard years, assuming they survive their environmental collapse and resource wars. So long? Asked a junior officer, newly arrived from Confederacy Training Academy. Their computational technology advances exponentially. Eric's skin pulsed in the cyan pattern that signified amusement among his species. Technology isn't their limitation, Ensign. It's their psychology. Observe their global communication networks. They possess knowledge to solve most planetary crises, yet remain paralyzed by tribal instincts. 17 nation-states possess planet-killing nuclear arsenals while threatening each other over resources. Their scientists comprehend the climate emergency, yet their populations deny basic planetary science. The maturation paradox, nodded Vrex. They've reached technological adolescence without achieving social maturity. The station shuddered as Jupiter's massive electromagnetic storms intensified. Their outpost, hidden within the gas giant's upper atmosphere, rode out the turbulence with automatic stabilizers. What's truly fascinating, continued Eric's calling up historical records on his console, is their complete ignorance of galactic society. 7 different Confederacy observation teams have experienced detection incidents in the last century alone, yet their government successfully suppressed the information. They would rather believe themselves alone in the universe than acknowledge a reality that challenges their perception of supremacy. Latest intelligence from their United Nations Assembly confirms continued deadlock on unified space exploration, reported the intelligence officer. Their most ambitious official program projects a crewed Mars landing within 15 years. Eric's mandibles clicked in what his species considered laughter. Record today's assessment. Despite technological potential, humanity remains centuries from viable Confederacy contact. Recommend continued non-intervention protocol and standard observation rotation. Commander Eric's a veteran diplomat from the crystalline Ethorian race, received his assignment to Earth Station with thinly veiled disappointment. Career diplomats viewed Earth posting as punishment, monitoring a planet whose inhabitants still celebrated breaking their own atmosphere as a major achievement. The Confederacy's policy was simple: minimal interference, continued observation, and preventing humanity from stumbling upon technology they weren't ready for. 5 kilometers beneath Ceres' cratered surface, Dr. Eliza Sharma's boots echoed on metal as she strode through a cavernous chamber that shouldn't exist. Above her, a hollowed-out dwarf planet. Below, the beating heart of humanity's greatest deception. Reactor cores 7 through 12 have achieved stable fusion, reported her chief engineer, jogging to keep pace. The gravitic drive can move the entire planetoid at 20% light speed without inertial effects. She nodded, passing a viewport where technicians in exosuits welded components to a cannon large enough to swallow an aircraft carrier. The weapon was one of hundreds lining Ceres' interior shell. In the central command sphere, representatives from every nation on Earth rose as she entered. The UN Secretary-General nodded in greeting. The Chinese antimatter production facility sends word they've met their quota. The Brazilian stealth systems are fully operational. India's shield generators are online. Dr. Sharma's dark eyes gleamed as she activated the holographic display. Ladies and gentlemen, Operation Trojan Horse enters its final phase today. After 50 years of absolute secrecy, humanity is about to change the rules of the game. An elderly Russian general leaned forward, metals clinking. The Confederacy aliens still suspect nothing. They continue monitoring our official space programs, Eliza replied with a predatory smile. Their latest report describes our Mars colony as quaint. They have no idea that for decades we've been hollowing out Ceres, converting its entire mass into the first planetary warship in galactic history. Play it again, demanded President Chen, her face illuminated by the holographic projection in the White House's underground bunker. The recording crackled, alien voices speaking in mathematical patterns, translated by the AI system. Jupiter Observation Post to Arcturus Command. Humans have detected radiation from Mars rover, but attribute it to equipment malfunction. Recommendation: maintain non-intervention protocol. For over a century, humanity had known they weren't alone. First contact occurred not with grand ships descending from the heavens, but through intercepted transmissions between Confederacy observation posts, a fluke discovery when SETI detected signals that weren't meant to be found. The emergency summit that followed made history, though it appeared in no official record. In a fortified bunker beneath Geneva, bitter enemies sat side by side, watching footage of alien ships moving between Saturn's rings. If they wanted us extinct, we'd be gone already, reasoned the American president. Unless they're waiting for something, countered the Russian premier. Perhaps we're an experiment to them. The Chinese president's proposal was elegant in its audacity. Then let us be the experiment they expect. We show them exactly what they anticipate: nations squabbling, slow technological progress, predictable human behavior, while we secretly prepare. This spawned the greatest covert operation in human history. Publicly, nations continued their geopolitical dance of alliances and rivalries. Behind closed doors, a unified shadow government coordinated humanity's true advancement, unified by the alien threat. Every public space mission served dual purposes. The Mars rover that appeared to malfunction was actually deploying surveillance to monitor the aliens monitoring us. The failed Jupiter probe conducted detailed scans of Confederacy technology. The much-publicized mining outpost on the Moon extracted helium-3 that never returned to Earth. It went straight to the secret shipyards inside Ceres and other hollowed-out asteroids. The underground facility 50 levels beneath Manhattan's financial district hummed with activity. Officially, it housed backup servers for Wall Street trading systems. In reality, it was one of 12 global command centers for Operation Trojan Horse. Dr. Eliza Sharma surveyed the international team working in perfect harmony. Russian quantum physicists collaborated with Brazilian propulsion experts. Iranian metallurgists refined alloys alongside Israeli engineers. Chinese AI specialists optimized systems developed by American weapons designers. "Status update on Phase 3, she requested, approaching the central holographic display. Admiral Quan, formerly of the Chinese Navy, manipulated the controls. The image shifted to show Ceres, or rather, what remained of its interior. Beneath the dwarf planet's unchanged exterior shell, 80% of its mass had been removed, replaced with concentric levels of machinery, living quarters, and weapon systems. Hull conversion is 93% complete, he reported. Power generation systems are online and stable. Gravitic drive calibration proceeds ahead of schedule. "And the Confederacy?" asked Dr. Sharma. Intelligence Director Volkov stepped forward, his Russian accent still noticeable despite decades speaking English. "They continue to see what we want them to see. Their latest assessment still classifies us as pre-spacefaring primitives. Their observation posts continue monitoring our official space programs, with no indication they've detected any unusual activity." "What about the resource transports?" Dr. Sharma pressed. "We're moving thousands of tons of material daily." "The masking technology works perfectly," Volkov assured her. "Our ships appear as ordinary asteroids to their sensors. The quantum signature dampers erase any trail of our propulsion systems." Dr. Sharma nodded, walking past workstations where engineers designed weapons that theoretically shouldn't be possible with humanity's known technology level. "And Project Olympus?" This question drew silent tension throughout the command center. Project Olympus was the ultimate contingency, a plan so audacious that even within the shadow government, only 12 people knew its full scope. "Ahead of schedule," answered General Rodriguez, the American military liaison. "The outer shell modifications are complete. Core drilling operations continue without detection. If the need arises, we could activate partial systems within 18 months. "Let's hope it doesn't come to that," Dr. Sharma replied quietly. "The planetary warships should be sufficient." A young technician approached, offering a data tablet. "Ma'am, we've intercepted new communications from the Jupiter observation post. They're conducting a routine personnel rotation next month. The incoming commander is a specialist in pre-contact psychology." Dr. Sharma smiled thinly. "Perfect. Prepare the usual theater. Make sure the United Nations Climate Conference fails especially dramatically. Have India and Pakistan exchange threatening statements over water rights. And let's schedule another very public space mission failure, something impressive but not catastrophic." Dr. Sharma walked through the command center deep inside Ceres. What had once been a solid dwarf planet was now essentially hollow, its entire interior converted into a labyrinth of corridors, weapon systems, engineering decks, and propulsion chambers. Its surface maintained the exact same appearance as before, every crater and feature meticulously preserved or replicated to prevent detection. "The Greeks hid inside a wooden horse to defeat Troy," she explained to visiting officials. "We're hiding inside an entire planet. When the Confederacy realizes what we've done, it will be far too late." In his observation post, Erixtal filed another routine report on human activity, noting their quaint attempts to establish a permanent base on Mars. His species had terraformed dozens of worlds before humans had invented the wheel. How could such limited creatures ever pose a challenge? Commander Erixtal jolted awake as emergency lights bathed his quarters in pulsing crimson. He rushed to the command center, where his crew stood frozen before the main view screen. "By the eternal void," he whispered. The sensor display showed 47 warships, massive, bone-white vessels bristling with weapon ports, decelerating from superluminal velocities at the edge of the solar system. "Saurian Imperium signatures confirmed," his tactical officer reported, mandibles clicking nervously. "Their broadcast is claiming salvage rights to this system and all indigenous life forms." The Taurians, a predatory species from the Perseus arm, had been expanding aggressively, strip mining planets and harvesting less advanced species as labor. The Confederacy had monitored their expansion, but maintained a policy of non-interference when it came to non-member worlds. Earth was simply next on their list, an insignificant planet with abundant resources and a harvestable population. Erixtal composed an emergency transmission to Confederacy High Command, his crystalline fingers trembling slightly. Saurian incursion imminent. Request immediate extraction and abandonment protocol for observation post. Indigenous species has approximately 34 standard hours before extinction-level contact. The Confederacy Council's response was swift. Extraction approved. Regrettable, but humans lack technological capability to detect or resist Saurian forces. Non-intervention protocol remains in effect. Erixtal was executing final shutdown procedures when proximity alarms shrieked. His tactical display showed something impossible. Ceres had changed trajectory. The dwarf planet was accelerating directly toward the Saurian fleet, its velocity increasing at a rate that defied all natural physics. "Sensor malfunction," he declared. "Reset the..." His words died as visual confirmation appeared on screen. Ceres was moving. Deliberately. In the hollowed heart of the dwarf planet, Dr. Sharma stood amid organized chaos as technicians rushed to battle stations. Sweat beaded on her forehead, despite the climate controls. Reactor cores at maximum. Inertial dampeners holding. Weapon systems charging. Status reports echoed across the command center. On the strategic display, the red dots of the Saurian fleet grew closer. "We were hoping for another 2 years of preparation," Dr. Sharma told the grim-faced military council, "but our hand has been forced. Better to reveal ourselves against the Saurians than wait for the Confederacy to decide whether we're worth saving." Aboard the Saurian flagship Void Reaper, Fleet Commander Grasnak received reports of the approaching celestial body with amusement. Primitive defense attempt, he sneered to his bridge officers, twin rows of serrated teeth gleaming under harsh lights. "These humans are redirecting an asteroid." Pathetic. Continue primary approach vector. His gunner's eyes widened suddenly. Energy spike detected from the asteroid. Impossible readings. Power signature exceeding fleet combined output. What? Grasnak began, but never finished his thought. Ceres' cratered surface split along precision-engineered seams, sections retracting to reveal massive particle cannon arrays. The first volley, blindingly bright beams of accelerated matter, struck with apocalyptic force. 17 Saurian vessels vaporized instantly, leaving only superheated plasma where warships had been seconds before. "EVA Sci-Fi HFY," screamed the surviving Saurian commanders, but their ships were designed to outmaneuver conventional vessels, not a weaponized planet with engines that could outrun light itself. Ceres pursued, its second volley arsing through space like divine judgment. When the energy dissipated, only 3 damaged Saurian ships remained, accelerating desperately toward the system boundary. From his observation post, Erixtal watched in stunned silence, his crystalline form paling to translucent white, the biological sign of absolute shock among his species. The supposedly primitive humans had unveiled technology that not only rivaled Confederacy capabilities, but in some ways exceeded them. The concept was theoretically possible. His own people had once discussed it. But the energy requirements alone would bankrupt most civilizations. Yet humans had done it, under constant surveillance, without detection. "Record emergency transmission," he croaked, his voice barely functional. "Classification. Existential threat alert. Humanity has weaponized an entire celestial body. I repeat, humanity has converted a dwarf planet into a fully operational warship with firepower exceeding the Confederacy battle group. All previous assessments of human technological capacity are catastrophically incorrect. Request immediate." A communication request interrupted his transmission. The signal originated from Ceres itself. On his view screen appeared a human female with dark eyes that seemed to look straight through him. "Commander Erixtal," said Dr. Sharma calmly, "we've been watching you watch us for quite some time. Perhaps we should finally talk." The Confederacy Council chamber on Centrux Prime hadn't been used for an emergency session in 700 years. The last time was when the Tholians developed singularity weapons, a crisis that nearly collapsed the galactic order. Today's emergency made that one look trivial. The 17 elder species representatives filed in with uncharacteristic haste, their usual ceremonial entrances abandoned. The Arcturian matriarch's tentacles writhed with agitation. The Volus ambassador's environment suit hissed with each anxious breath. The Meridian representative's silicon crystal body emitted stress harmonics audible to several species. Grand Arbiter Zex Terrell activated the central hologram. The footage from Erixtal's observation post played in perfect fidelity. Ceres splitting open, the obliteration of the Xorian fleet, the impossible maneuvers of a weaponized dwarf planet. Silence gripped the chamber. Then chaos erupted. "This is impossible," shouted Renvex of the Meridians, pounding his crystalline appendage against the podium until fragments shattered off. Converting an entire dwarf planet into a functional warship would require energy production technology beyond even our theoretical capabilities. "Yet the evidence is undeniable," responded Thale Oramir, the ancient Arcturian representative. His 17 eye stalks swiveled independently, examining different reactions around the chamber. Not only did they achieve this engineering marvel, but they did it entirely under our observation without detection. They knew we were watching and deliberately deceived us for centuries. The Volus defense minister's breathing apparatus wheezed loudly. The energy output from that single volley exceeded anything in our arsenal. "If they have more of these planet ships." "The humans call it EDV Olympus," interrupted Erixtal, newly arrived from the Sol system. His testimony had been deemed crucial enough to teleport him across 12 sectors. "Earth Defense Vessel Olympus. The naming convention implies others." A panicked murmur swept through the council. "What are their demands?" asked the Tellarite ambassador. "That's the most disturbing part," replied Erixtal. "They haven't made any. After destroying the Xorian fleet, they simply returned Ceres to its original orbit and resumed their false appearance of normal activity. They're waiting." Fear spread through the council like a contagion. If humans had accomplished this while appearing primitive, what else might they be capable of? And more importantly, what were their intentions? The Drell Intelligence Director's hologram flickered to life. "We need immediate assessment of all stelliform bodies in human-controlled space. If they'd weaponized one dwarf planet." "We find ourselves in unprecedented territory," interrupted the Grand Arbiter. "A species we classified as pre-spacefaring has revealed technology that threatens the balance of power across the galaxy. The question before this council is simple. Do we extend diplomatic recognition to humanity, or do we consider them an existential threat requiring preventative measures? On Earth, the public revelation of extraterrestrial life, the Confederacy's long observation, and humanity's secret planetary warship program caused initial panic followed by a surge of species-wide unity. When the Confederacy finally sent a formal diplomatic delegation, they were surprised to find themselves invited to the Ceres command deck. Dr. Sharma, now serving as humanity's representative, greeted the delegation. "Welcome aboard Earth Defense Vessel Olympus," she said, using the warship's official designation. "We've been looking forward to proper first contact for some time." The lead diplomat, a towering avian being, maintained impressive composure. "Your species has demonstrated remarkable capability. The Confederacy wishes to understand your intentions toward galactic society." "Our intentions," Dr. Sharma smiled. "First, to survive. The Confederacy was willing to abandon us to the Xorians without warning. Second, to ensure humanity takes its rightful place among the stars, not as a footnote species to be studied and dismissed. And the other planetary warships, are they also nearly complete?" Dr. Sharma's smile never wavered. "What makes you think Ceres is the only one already operational?" The Confederacy's worst fears were confirmed 3 weeks later. Long-range scans detected unusual activity in the Kuiper Belt. Pluto, along with 5 other dwarf planets and large asteroids, began moving out of their orbits. Each had been converted into warships similar to Ceres, but with varying specializations. Pluto had become a carrier vessel housing thousands of smaller craft. Makemake was essentially a mobile fortress. Hama had been engineered into a planetary-scale electronic warfare platform. Humanity's deception had been comprehensive. While maintaining the appearance of primitive space exploration, they had systematically hollowed out and weaponized multiple celestial bodies in their solar system. The Confederacy Council reconvened in emergency session. They have built a fleet that could potentially destroy any single Confederacy world, warned the military advisor. We must consider preemptive options. Preemptive strikes against a species that converted planets into warships while we were watching them, countered another representative. If they achieve this under observation, imagine what else they might have prepared that we haven't detected. Erixtal, now promoted due to his first-hand knowledge of humanity, addressed the council. There's something else you should understand about humans. Their historical records show countless examples of their species uniting fiercely when threatened. Any aggressive action would likely trigger full deployment of capabilities we haven't yet seen. Meanwhile, humanity's planetary warship fleet assembled in formation beyond Neptune's orbit. Dr. Sharma addressed the United Earth Council from the command deck of the Olympus. For generations, we prepared in secret, knowing we were being watched by species who considered us insignificant. Today we have their attention. The question now is what we do with it. The elderly general who had witnessed the program from its beginning asked, "Was this always about defense, Doctor? Or was there more to your vision?" Dr. Sharma's expression grew solemn. Humanity's history is filled with stories of what happens when technologically advanced societies encounter less developed ones. We refuse to let that be our story. But now that we've demonstrated our capabilities, we have an opportunity to help shape a more equitable galactic community, one where no species is dismissed as primitive simply because they evolved differently. "Kill them all," ordered Prefect Jarduval, watching the protest from his sealed command tower. Below, thousands of Calixi demonstrators filled the capital plaza of Meridian Colony B-227. Their four-armed forms held signs demanding equal representation on the Confederacy Council. "Deploying crowd suppression units," confirmed his security chief. Armored hovercrafts emerged from side streets, weapons charging. This scene had played out countless times across Confederacy space since humanity's revelation. The carefully maintained hierarchy, elder species ruling, younger species serving, was fracturing. When a supposedly primitive species revealed themselves as technological equals, the entire justification for Confederacy stratification collapsed. The Calixi protest was just the latest uprising. Along with the insectoid Vrex and aquatic Nimbulans, they were demanding the same recognition humanity had forced the Confederacy to grant them. The first hovercraft fired stun weapons into the crowd. Then it exploded, a precisely targeted energy beam reducing it to molecules. The others met similar fates within seconds. Prefect Jarduval stared in horror as his command tower's defenses reported incoming vessels, sleek ships with technology far beyond what the Calixi should possess. Meridian control to unidentified vessels. "You are violating Confederacy space. Stand down or..." His transmission cut off as 3 planetary warships emerged from hyperspace above the colony: the Olympus, the Pluto, and the Eris. Dr. Sharma's face appeared on his communication screen. "This is a humanitarian intervention," she stated flatly. "Your peacekeeping fleet has been neutralized without casualties. Your ground forces are surrounded. You have 1 hour to negotiate terms with the Meridian Coalition representatives." Across the sector, the Confederacy's peacekeeping fleet, an action that had always proven sufficient in the past, found themselves outmaneuvered and outgunned. The rebels were using advanced defensive systems with signatures mysteriously similar to human designs. In the midst of the conflict, 3 of humanity's planetary warships appeared at the edge of the system. The Olympus, commanded by Dr. Sharma herself, opened communications with both sides. The Confederacy Council requested our assistance with this situation, she explained to the stunned rebel leaders. They believed we might offer a unique perspective, having recently joined Galactic society ourselves. What followed was humanity's first major diplomatic effort. Rather than using their overwhelming firepower, they leveraged their unique position as newcomers to broker negotiations. The resulting Meridian Accords became a template for relations between elder and younger species throughout Confederacy space. When questioned by Confederacy officials about how the rebels obtained human weapon designs, Dr. Sharma simply replied, "We never provided them with technology. Perhaps great minds think alike across species, or perhaps your assessment of their capabilities was as flawed as your assessment of ours." The truth was more complex. Humanity had indeed made contact with various oppressed species, not to supply weapons, but to share something more valuable: their methodology for advancement under observation. The lesson wasn't about specific technology, but about how to develop while appearing to be exactly what the Watchers expected to see. On the return journey to Sol, Erixtal, now serving as Confederacy liaison to humanity, joined Dr. Sharma on the Olympus command deck. "Your species continues to surprise us," he admitted. "Most races with your military advantage would have simply conquered." "That would be inefficient," she replied. "Humanity learned long ago that true power isn't about controlling others through force. It's about changing the rules of the game entirely." The wormhole erupted at the edge of Ta City, a wound in space-time, disgorging nightmare. Sensor stations barely had time to broadcast warnings before they were vaporized. 300 warships emerged from the spatial distortion. The Xorian Armada had returned. Their vessels no longer resembled the sleek predators humanity had faced before. These were angular monstrosities covered in ablative armor and bristling with weapon systems scavenged from a dozen conquered civilizations. At their center, 5 vessels dwarfed all others, the dreaded World Breakers, each carrying a singularity weapon capable of imploding a planet's core. On the flagship Extinction Decree, Supreme War Commander Draz Gore addressed his commanders through neural interfaces. His original organic body had been replaced with mechanized components after surviving Syrah's attack. "The human deception proves what we have always known," his amplified voice echoed. "Advanced species will eliminate us if given opportunity. Confederacy and humans are now allied. Both must be eradicated." The Armada split into 3 battle groups, attacking Confederacy worlds with surgical precision. Communication hubs, defense installations, and shipyards. The Confederacy rushed to respond, but their defense doctrine had been designed for peacekeeping and limited conflicts. They had never faced an extinction-level invasion. On Centrux Prime, emergency alarms shattered the Council's famous Serenity Dome for the first time in its 5,000-year history. The Grand Arbiter's voice trembled as he addressed the emergency session. "The Xorian advance has already overtaken 3 core systems. Our combined fleets cannot stop their approach. For the first time since the founding of the Confederacy, we face the possibility of defeat." All eyes turned to the human delegation. "We request," the Arbiter continued, swallowing his pride, "humanity's assistance." The Xorian advance cut through the outer Confederacy territories with frightening speed. Evacuation orders were issued for dozens of worlds. In a dramatic reversal, the Confederacy formally requested humanity's assistance. Dr. Sharma presented the request to the United Earth Council. "After centuries of being observed like specimens, we're now being asked to save the very civilization that was prepared to abandon us." "And your recommendation?" asked the council chair. "We fight," she replied without hesitation. "Not for the Confederacy, but because the Xorians represent exactly the kind of existential threat we built our fleet to counter, and because defending others is what humanity does best." The response was unanimous. All 7 of humanity's known planetary warships departed the Sol system, accompanied by thousands of smaller vessels that had remained hidden within Earth's asteroid belt. Billions watched live broadcasts as humanity's 7 known planetary warships assembled in formation between Mars and Jupiter. The vessels, converted from Ceres, Pluto, Eris, Makemake, Haumea, Sedna, and Quaoar, represented the most powerful fleet in known space. Their central chambers housed fusion reactors that could power entire civilizations. Their weapon systems could shatter moons. Yet intelligence reports confirmed the Xorian armada outnumbered them nearly 50-1. From her command chair aboard the Olympus, Dr. Sharma opened a channel to every human settlement in the solar system. Since our ancestors first intercepted alien transmissions, we prepared for this day, she said, her voice steady despite the weight of her next decision. For generations, we maintained our greatest secret, hiding it from alien observers and our own people alike. Today, that secret saves us all. She pressed her palm against a crystalline scanner. Authorization. Sharma. Eliza. Protocol. Avalon. Command. Awaken. Across Earth, millions experienced the impossible. The ground beneath their feet trembled. Buildings swayed. Oceans rippled from sudden gravitational fluctuations. In New York, Tokyo, London, Lagos, and every city on the planet, civilians stared in confusion as emergency broadcasts urged them to remain calm. In orbit, Confederacy observers watched in disbelief as Earth, the actual planet itself, began to move from its orbit. The greatest deception in galactic history revealed itself. Earth was not merely humanity's homeworld. The planet that Confederacy observers had studied for centuries was itself a construct, a planetary-scale disguise concealing a warship more massive than all others combined. Massive seams appeared along tectonic boundaries. Continental plates shifted. The oceans remained contained by powerful force fields as the planetary crust reconfigured, revealing weapon arrays larger than cities and engine ports that could swallow mountains. The Confederacy Council watched in stunned silence as their sensors confirmed the impossible. The lush biosphere, the oceans, the atmosphere, all were genuine, but they concealed the most powerful weapons and engines ever created. Where, whispered the Grand Arbiter, is the real Earth? Dr. Sharma smiled. Safe. It has always been safe. The true Earth had been hidden elsewhere, its location known only to humanity's highest leaders. The planet that everyone, including most humans, thought was Earth was humanity's ultimate masterpiece, a fully functional living world that doubled as the flagship of their fleet. They called it the 7-Day War, though historians would later argue it lasted only 6 days and 14 hours. Day 1 began at the Rigel Corridor, where the Xorian vanguard encountered the combined Confederacy Defense Fleet, 3,000 vessels from 17 species fighting as one for the first time in galactic history. The battle seemed evenly matched until 3 human planetary warships, Makemake, Hamia, and Quaor, emerged from hyperspace behind the Xorian formation. Their coordinated barrage tore through the enemy's rear guard, forcing the survivors to retreat through the corridor. Day 3 saw the Xorian counterattack at Aldebaran. Their World-Breaker-class vessels deployed singularity weapons against populated worlds, imploding 2 Confederacy colonies before the planetary warships Eris and Pluto arrived. The battle that followed reduced 3 star systems to radioactive debris. Day 5 brought the Xorian armada to their final stand at the Horsehead Nebula, their remaining forces consolidating around their flagship. 200 Xorian warships against the remnants of the Confederacy fleet and 4 human planetary warships. The battle seemed deadlocked until Earth arrived. Witnesses described it as a planet wearing armor. Its approach created gravitational waves that distorted spacetime itself. When it opened fire, the energy output exceeded anything ever recorded in Confederacy history. The weapons built into the converted Earth could generate directed energy that conventional physics considered impossible. Its gravitational manipulation systems created localized distortions that trapped enemy vessels in temporal bubbles where seconds stretched into years. Its defensive shields absorbed direct hits from singularity weapons without faltering. The Xorian fleet, the terror of the Perseus Arm, disintegrated under its assault. By the final day, the Xorian fleet had been reduced to scattered remnants fleeing back toward their home territory. The cost had been high. Two of humanity's smaller planetary warships were severely damaged, and countless lives were lost on both sides, but the combined forces had prevailed. In the aftermath, the galaxy's power structure was forever altered. The Confederacy Council chamber was redesigned, replacing the hierarchical tiers with a circular arrangement where all species, elder and younger alike, sat as equals. Dr. Sharma, now serving as humanity's first galactic ambassador, addressed the reformed council. For too long, advancement in this galaxy has been measured by age rather than innovation. Species were categorized as elder or younger, advanced or primitive. Today, we begin a new chapter where contribution matters more than chronology. The mystery of humanity's true homeworld became the subject of intense speculation. Some believe the original Earth was hidden in another galaxy entirely. Others theorized it might exist in a pocket dimension. Humanity never confirmed any theories, maintaining that particular secret as insurance against future threats. Aristotle, whose career had transformed from obscure observation duty to one of the most important diplomatic positions in the galaxy, reflected on how thoroughly his species had misjudged humanity. "We watched you for centuries," he said to Dr. Sharma during the celebration following the council reformation. "How did we miss what you were building?" "You saw exactly what you expected to see," she replied. "Your reports described us as primitive but tenacious. You were half right. Our tenacity was our greatest strength. The patience to construct our future while under constant observation. The determination to rewrite the rules rather than play by someone else's." Throughout the galaxy, a new understanding spread about the species that had engineered planetary warships while being watched. Humanity hadn't just built a fleet. They had perfected the art of hiding in plain sight. And in doing so, they hadn't just secured their place among the stars. They had fundamentally changed what that place meant for every species in the galaxy. The age of categorizing civilizations as elder or younger was over. In its place arose a new galactic society where innovation, adaptability, and cooperation became the true measures of advancement, values that humanity had exemplified from the very beginning.